is a specific kind of dread that arrives in the quiet hours of the night. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It asks you a single terrifying question. Why haven't you made it yet? You look at your reflection, and you don't see a human being. You see a spreadsheet, a timeline, a checklist of achievements you were supposed to have. Checked off by now. By 30, by 35, by 40. We are living through an epidemic of comparison. We measure our internal chaos against everyone else's external highlight reels. And in that game, we always lose. We feel like we are perpetually late to a party that started without us. But what if I told you that the feeling of being behind is not a curse? What if it's actually the most sophisticated navigation system the human mind possesses? What if the very thing keeping you awake at night is the only thing that can save you from a life of quiet desperation? Today, we aren't just going to talk about why you feel behind. We are going to dismantle the clock. We are going to look at the psychology of time, the economics of success, and the hidden power of the late bloomer.
To understand why we feel behind, we have to go back. Way back. Not to the Industrial Revolution, but further to the very first human settlements. For most of human history, the concept of being behind didn't exist. You were alive or you were dead. You contributed to the tribe or you didn't. There was no 30-year milestone where you needed to own a piece of land made of mud and straw. The idea of a timeline for life is a social construct. It's a ghost. And like all powerful ghosts, it haunts us because we refuse to look at it directly. Psychologists call this the social clock, a term coined by sociologist Bernice Neugarten back in the 1960s. Get a career by 25, marry by 28. Buy a house by 30, have 2.5 kids, retire at 65. We treat this schedule as if it were etched into our DNA. It's a relatively recent invention, solidified by the post-World War II economic boom. In the 1950s, if you bought a house at 25, worked at the same company for 40 years, it collapsed under the weight of the internet, globalization, and the gig economy. We are playing a 2024 game with a 1954 scoreboard. Yet, that 1954 scoreboard is still hanging in the stadium of our minds. We look at a 25-year-old tech founder on the cover of Forbes and we feel a pang of failure. We compare our Chapter 5 to someone else's Chapter 20, forgetting that we are reading different books entirely. This creates a phenomenon known as temporal social comparison. It's not just comparing wealth or status. It's comparing velocity. We feel we are moving too slowly. And this feeling triggers a primal fear. The fear of being left behind by the tribe. In ancient times, being left behind meant being eaten by a predator. Today, being left behind means feeling lonely at a high school reunion. The stakes have changed, but the chemical reaction in our brain, the cortisol spike, the anxiety remains the same. But here is the destructive irony. The more you believe you are behind, the more you sabotage your future progress. When you feel late to the game, you rush. You take the first job offer. You marry the wrong person. You invest in the get-rich-quick scheme. You make decisions based on the scarcity of time, rather than the abundance of your potential. You trade your long-term strategy for short-term validation. The feeling of being behind creates a state of time poverty. And research from the University of Pennsylvania shows that time poverty leads to a measurable decrease in cognitive function. It lowers your IQ, makes you less creative, and impairs your decision-making. In essence, worrying about being slow makes you slow. So the first step to solving this problem is radical. It is to declare bankruptcy on the debt you think you owe to society. You have to look at that social clock, that ghost from the 1950s, and you have to smash it, because the moment you stop running on their track, you can finally start building your road. The Valley of Disappointment. There is a universal law that the self-help gurus love to talk about, but they rarely show you the ugly part. It's the law of compound interest. They show you the graph. A flat line for a long time, and then suddenly, a hockey stick curve shooting up to the sky. They tell you, just be patient. But they don't tell you what it feels like to live on the flat part of that line. They don't tell you about the loneliness, the doubt, the whispers that tell you the line will never curve up. They don't tell you that you are standing in what author James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. You feel behind because you are currently walking through the valley. You are putting in the work, learning the skill, building the business, healing the trauma, but the results are invisible. You are investing money and seeing zero return. You are going to the gym and seeing no muscle. You are being kind in a relationship and receiving coldness in return. This is the most dangerous psychological terrain a human can occupy, because the lack of feedback makes your brain believe the effort is useless. And to protect you from wasting energy, your brain screams at you to stop. It says, "See, you're behind. You started too late. Just quit." Let's look at the financial reality of this. We worship the overnight success. We see the IPO, the viral video, the best-selling book. But finance is the study of behavior maturing over time. Take Warren Buffett. 99% of his wealth was earned after his 50th birthday. 99%. If you had judged him at 30, he was just a guy from Omaha with some good ideas. At 40, he was doing well. At 50, he was rich. At 60, he was a legend. The market didn't change. The compound interest just needed time to cook. We want the 5-ingredient, 15-minute meal. But a life of depth is a 4-day braised short rib. When you feel behind, you are actually standing in the most fertile soil of your life. The invisible year, the one where no one claps for you, is the only year that matters. It's the year you are building the infrastructure. Think of it like laying a fiber optic cable under the ocean. For years, you see nothing but ships on the surface. It looks like a vacation. But beneath the waves, a massive, complex network is being laid that will one day transmit data across continents. Psychologically, you must reframe the valley. You must see it not as a sign that you are lost, but as evidence that you are on the path. The tension you feel, the anxiety of being behind, is the friction of growth. If you were coasting downhill, you wouldn't feel any friction at all. You'd just be sliding. The compound effect demands a specific type of faith. Not religious faith, but probabilistic faith. The faith that if you continue to execute a positive action, the probability of a positive outcome approaches 100% over a long enough timeline. There is a paradox at the heart of the feeling behind phenomenon. Usually, we view deadlines as stressful. They box us in. They make us panic. But if you are feeling behind, you are operating under the strictest deadline of all, the perception that you are running out of time. And that is actually your superpower. Look at the science of decision-making. It's called the Hicks Law. The more options you have, the longer it takes to make a decision. A 22-year-old has infinite options. They can be a doctor, a painter, a programmer, a drifter. This sounds liberating, but it often leads to paralysis. They suffer from the tyranny of choice. But when you feel behind, your options narrow. You don't have time to wander. You don't have time to date the wrong career for 5 years. You don't have time to invest in things that don't matter. The feeling of being late forces you into a state of radical prioritization. This is what I call the subtraction advantage. In a world that tells you to add skills, add assets, add connections, you are forced to subtract. You have to cut the noise. You have to fire the clients that drain you. You have to stop going to events that don't serve your core mission. You have to prune the trees so the fruit grows bigger. Financially, this is devastatingly effective. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. But the billionaire? They have 1 or 2. They are maniacally focused. They didn't get rich by diversifying their time. They got rich by concentrating their energy on the single point of highest leverage. Feeling behind concentrates your energy. It focuses your mind like a magnifying glass focusing sunlight. You can't afford to mess around. Let's talk about regret. The greatest psychological burden isn't the regret of things you did. It's the regret of things you didn't do. Studies on the dying, like those conducted by palliative nurse Bronnie Ware, show that the number 1 regret of the dying is, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. The 50-year-old who feels behind is paralyzed by this. But you, right now, listening to this, you still have time to avoid that regret. The urgency you feel is a gift. It's a fire in your gut that the complacent 25-year-old does not have. The 25-year-old with the trust fund might have more money, but they are often spiritually bankrupt. They are waiting for life to happen to them. Just lost their job and is starting a business? They are in the fight. They are playing offense. When you have less time, you stop saving your good ideas for someday. And you work with the rain. You understand that the window of opportunity is shrinking. So you dive through it, headfirst while the 25-year-old is still measuring the frame. You are not behind. You are just leaner. You are hungrier. And hunger is the only ingredient that cannot be taught. We have been sold a lie about planning. We are told that to be successful, we need a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a life map. We are told to visualize the destination so clearly that we can taste it. But life is not a road trip. It's sailing on an ocean where the wind changes constantly. And if you fixate on a map that doesn't account for the storms, you will spend your entire voyage feeling lost. Feeling behind often comes from comparing your real-time location to a map you drew when you were 22 years old. Back then, you didn't know what you didn't know. You drew a straight line from A to B, but reality is rarely a straight line. In psychology, this is called the planning fallacy, a term coined by Daniel Kahneman. It's our tendency to underestimate how long things will take, how much they will cost, and how hard they will be. We look at our plan, see we are behind schedule, and assume we are failing. But maybe the plan was just wrong. Consider the career of Harrison Ford. Before he was Indiana Jones, he was a carpenter. He was in his late 30s, building cabinets for people, feeling, by Hollywood standards, ancient. If he had rigidly stuck to a 10-year plan made in his 20s, he would have been a miserable failure. But he wasn't failing. He was biding time. He was building relationships. He was in the right place at the right time, because he stayed open to possibility. The feeling of being behind is often just the feeling of your original plan dying. And that is a reason to celebrate, because a bad plan dying makes room for a better reality to be born. And if you're feeling behind right now, take a breath, because life is not a race. There is no universal timeline, no invisible scoreboard keeping track of who made it first. You are not late. You are not failing. You are not behind. You are building. Some stories take longer because they're meant to be deeper. Some journeys move slower because they're shaping you into someone stronger. And the quiet seasons? Those are not wasted years. They are preparation years. The world only celebrates the highlight reel, but it never shows the nights of doubt, the years of discipline, the silent growth. So, if you're still showing up, still trying, still refusing to quit, you're not behind. You're becoming. And one day, you'll look back at this season and realize this wasn't the end of your story. This was the chapter where everything started to change. Stay patient. Stay focused. Your time is coming.